Welcome back guys. In this video, let's discuss about lung volumes and capacities. Most of the students find it very hard or confusing to understand this concept. Okay. Now, let's make it as simple as possible. Now, first let's discuss about lung volumes. What are the different types of lung volumes? After that, let's discuss about lung capacities. So, first our topic is lung volumes. Now, guys, I am asking you one question. See, you and me, we are all breathing, right? So, right now I am taking air into my lungs and I am going to exhale that air. So, I am taking air in and I am exhaling that air. So, here I am showing I am taking air and exhaling the air. So, here this graph is showing that I am breathing, okay, the air is entering into the lungs and the air is coming out of the lungs. So, the volume or the amount of air that enters into the lungs and that comes out of the lungs is called as tidal volume. So, first lung volume which we are discussing is tidal volume. So, what is a tidal volume? With every breath, whatever the air going in and whatever the air coming out. So, that volume of air with every breath is called as tidal volume. And what is the amount of air that goes in and comes out with every breath? It's almost 500 ml. So, tidal volume is 500 ml. Okay, you can clearly see here this area. Okay, see this area is where normal respiration occur. Inspiration, expiration, inspiration, expiration. So, this area is the tidal volume. Now, I am asking you one question. For example, if you are going just side to a dumpster or you are just going in an area where there is very bad smell coming. Okay, so before entering to that area, if you know, okay, you know already that there is this one area where there is some bad smell coming. So, before entering into that area, what you will do? You will take more air and you will hold your breath while passing that area. Okay, so you can take some extra air with effort. You can take some extra air. Or just see, if I ask you to take a dive into a river, okay, so what you will do? You will take some extra air, right? See, this is my normal breathing. But if I ask you to dive into a river, what you will do? You will take extra air. So, that extra air which you can take with effort is called as inspiratory reserve volume. See, in this area, this curve or this graph which I am showing you is the extra air one can take before passing through a dumpster or while taking a dive into a river. So, that is called as inspiratory reserve volume or IRV. Okay. Now, after discussing about inspiratory reserve volume, now let us discuss about expiratory reserve volume. Sir, what is this expiratory reserve volume? Very simple. Now, see, I am taking air in, I am taking air out. So, this is the tidal volume. Okay. But if I ask you to come to my home for birthday party, I am asking you to come to my home for my birthday party. Okay. In the birthday party, what you guys will be doing? Definitely, you should have to come and decorate my home. So, for decorating the home, you have to blow the balloons. Okay. So, for blowing the balloons, will you do normal tidal volume respiration or will you take out extra air out of your lungs? See, for blowing the balloons, you have to take out extra air out of your lungs. So, the extra air, okay, here, let me show you with a different color. The extra air that you can take out of your lungs while blowing the candles or while blowing out the balloons, that extra air, that extra air or that extra volume of air that you will take out is called as expiratory reserve volume. Normal breathing is happening in tidal volume, that is a tidal respiration. Extra air which you take is inspiratory reserve volume. Extra air with effort, extra air that you can take out with effort, that extra air is expiratory reserve volume. See, it's a expiratory, means you are taking the air out. Expiratory reserve volume. Okay. Now, this area, okay, this graph is expiratory reserve volume, that is ERV. Now, my question is, see, I am doing expiratory reserve volume. I am taking out expiratory reserve volume out of my lungs. But even after taking out the expiratory reserve volume, will there be any air left inside my lungs? Will there be any air left inside my lungs? Yes, there will be air which is left inside my lungs. Yes, there is some amount of air which is all the time present in inside my lungs. With whatever the effort, how hard you try, some amount of air will be all the time present inside the lungs. That air, you cannot take it out even with the hardest attempts possible. Okay, whatever you do, that amount of air will not come out of the lungs. So, that is called as residual volume or RV. So, residual volume is the amount of air which is present inside the lungs which cannot be taken out even with the forceful expiration. With forceful expiration, you can take out expiratory reserve volume, but not the residual volume. So, 4 important volumes which we have discussed. First volume is tidal volume. Tidal volume means normal respiration. Inspiration, expiration. Inspiration, expiration. That is 500 ml. With effort, you can take some extra air into your lungs. Okay, before diving, example. That is inspiratory reserve volume. With effort, you can take out extra volume out of your lungs, that is expiratory reserve volume, and last volume is residual volume that cannot be taken out by any means. Okay. Now, after discussing about the volumes, now let us discuss about the capacities. Okay, let me write it down here. Volumes and capacities. Okay, volumes and capacities. What are the volumes which we have discussed, guys? The volumes which we have discussed are tidal volume, inspiratory reserve volume, expiratory reserve volume, and fourth volume is residual volume. Now, after discussing about the volumes, now let us see what are the different types of capacities. Capacities are nothing but sum of volumes. Okay, sum of lung volumes will give you capacities. There are 4 types of capacities are there. The first capacity is inspiratory capacity, vital capacity, functional, residual capacity, and total lung capacity. Okay, there are 4 different types of capacities. Now, I have already taught you capacities are nothing but addition of 2 or more lung volumes. So, what is this inspiratory capacity? Inspiratory capacity means in the name itself is there. Your capacity of inspiration, how much you can inspire, maximum. See, right now I am like this, in a resting position. I am not breathing, okay, I am not taking air in, I am not exhaling the air out. I am like this. Now, you came to me and you asked me, sir, what is your inspiratory capacity? Now, how much I can inspire? Just tell me. Now, I can take tidal volume in. But if you ask me to take extra air, I can also take inspiratory reserve volume. So, what I can breathe is tidal volume I can take. Along with the tidal volume, I can also take inspiratory reserve volume. So, what is the formula for inspiratory capacity? The formula for inspiratory capacity is the tidal volume plus inspiratory reserve volume. Inspiratory capacity means very simple. The capacity of your inspiration, how much you can take, how much inspiration you can totally take. Now, after discussing about the inspiratory capacity, now let us discuss about the vital capacity. Vital capacity means how much you can exhale maximum. Okay, exhale maximum. How can you can exhale maximum, sir? Now, what I can exhale is, see, now I have to start with taking maximum amount of air. Now, my lungs are totally filled with air. Now what I can maximally exhale? First I am exhaling inspiratory reservoir volume, I am exhaling tidal volume. I can also exhale expiratory reservoir volume. See, after taking maximum air into the lungs, now what I can exhale? Inspiratory reserve volume I can exhale, along with that tidal volume I can exhale, along with that even I can exhale expiratory reserve volume, these three. So the sum of inspiratory reserve volume, tidal volume and expiratory reserve volume, all these three together, okay, all these three together is called as vital capacity. Okay, don't confuse. See the first three boxes, okay, the first three boxes here I am showing you here. Okay, this is the first box, this is the area of first box, this is the area of second box and this is the area of third box. So here I am writing inspiratory reserve volume, tidal volume and expiratory reserve volume. So the sum of inspiratory reserve volume, expiratory reserve volume and tidal volume will give you vital capacity. So vital capacity is nothing but maximum how much you can exhale. Now let's write it down here. What is the formula of vital capacity? It is inspiratory reserve volume IRV plus tidal volume plus expiratory reserve volume. Or we can also say one more formula. We can also have one more formula for this vital capacity. See, inspiratory reserve volume plus a tidal volume. See here, inspiratory reserve volume and tidal volume. The sum of inspiratory reserve volume and tidal volume is nothing but inspiratory capacity. So we can say inspiratory capacity plus expiratory residual volume. So not residual volume, reserve volume. So inspiratory capacity plus expiratory reserve volume can also give you vital capacity. Okay. Now let's see functional residual capacity. What is functional residual capacity? Functional residual capacity is very simple. Now in a resting state, right now see, I am in a resting state. I am not breathing in, I am not taking air out. No inspiration, no expiration. So right now, what is the amount of air that's present inside my lungs? See, what is the amount of air that's present inside the lungs during resting state is the functional residual capacity, or we can say functional residual capacity is the amount of air which is present in lungs during resting state. How much is there? There is some amount of air which you can take out with effort. That is expiratory reserve volume is there, and all the time there will be some amount of air inside your lungs which cannot be taken out even with effort. So in the lungs during resting state you can have expiratory reserve volume, it is there. See, I can take out, and there is residual volume which I cannot take out. So expiratory reserve volume and residual volume, if you add them, that will give you functional residual capacity. Now what is total lung capacity? Total lung capacity is, it's a sum of everything. It's a sum of all volumes, very simple. It's a sum of inspiratory reserve volume, tidal volume, expiratory reserve volume and residual volume. The sum of all the volumes will give you total lung capacity. Usually total lung capacity is somewhere around 6 liters. Okay. So here I am showing you all the different types of volumes and capacities. So total lung capacity in a formula we can say very simple. It is inspiratory reserve volume plus tidal volume plus expiratory reserve volume plus residual volume. Or also we can say one more formula. What is that? See, inspiratory reserve volume plus tidal volume is nothing but inspiratory capacity. Inspiratory capacity plus expiratory reserve volume plus residual volume. Or also we can say one more formula. What is that? See, inspiratory capacity plus expiratory reserve volume will give you vital capacity. So vital capacity plus residual volume will also give you total lung capacity. Okay. Now, after seeing different types of formulas, you just try to answer. Okay, I will be highlighting one area, one block, and you should say what is that block. Is it tidal volume, inspiratory reserve volume, vital capacity, inspiratory capacity? You should answer. Okay. Now, just try to answer, guys, this block. Okay, what is this area is falling under? This area, is it inspiratory, is it a volume or a capacity? See, here normal inspiration, expiration is happening. So, definitely this block is tidal volume. Now, see, what is this block? This block is the area where with whatever the effort, you cannot take the air out of the lungs. So, what is that volume? This is residual volume. Now, what is this block? All this. Now, here this block, what and all we are adding? We are adding inspiratory reserve volume, expiratory reserve volume. So, inspiratory reserve volume, tidal volume, expiratory reserve volume, all these three things together will give you vital capacity. And the last block, see here, this area, it is the sum up of all the volumes, that is total lung capacities. Okay. Now, after seeing different types of lung volumes and capacities, some important MCQs which you need to know for your exams. Write down here, guys. Volumes and capacities that cannot be measured by spirometry. Okay. So, volumes and capacities that cannot be measured by spirometry. See the image what and all I have shown you this graph, this is a spirometry graph. Usually all these volumes and capacities are measured by a study called as a spirometry. But there are certain volumes and capacities which you cannot measure. So, what are those volumes and capacities which are not measured by spirometry studies? The first volume which cannot be measured is residual volume. Okay, residual volume cannot be measured. Why? Why? Because first of all, you cannot take out the residual volume out of your lungs. So, how come you measure it? Via spirometry. Okay. So, with spirometry, the residual volume cannot be measured. If you can't calculate residual volume, you cannot calculate functional residual capacity. Functional residual capacity can also be not measured. Why? Why? Because first of all, functional residual capacity, it's a sum of expiratory reserve volume plus residual volume. We all know that residual volume cannot be measured. If you cannot measure residual volume, definitely functional residual capacity also cannot be measured, because functional residual capacity FRC, it's a sum of expiratory reserve volume and residual volume. Now, if you cannot measure residual volume, you can also not measure total lung capacity. Why? Because total lung capacity, it's a sum of all the volumes. You cannot measure residual volume, total lung capacity cannot be measured. Okay. So, one volume which cannot be measured is residual volume, and the two capacities which cannot be measured is functional residual capacity and total lung capacity. Now, after seeing this MCQ, very important MCQ which was asked in the exam is methods to measure functional residual capacity. What are the methods which are available to measure this functional residual capacity? Functional residual capacity, just try to recollect. Functional residual capacity, it is the amount of air which is present all the time in lungs in a resting state. Okay, in a resting state, what is the amount of air which is present in the lungs? Functional residual capacity. Two volumes of air is there inside the lungs, that is expiratory reserve volume and residual volume. So, even in resting state, this amount of air is present inside the lungs. So, how can we measure this functional residual capacity? My lungs are functioning even at a resting state with expiratory reserve volume inside it and residual volume inside it. So, how can I measure it? There are certain important methods. Okay, we cannot measure it by spirometry. There are some other methods with which we can measure. The first method is body plethysmography, nitrogen washout and helium dilution method. Okay, so these are the methods: body plethysmography, nitrogen washout, helium dilution method. These are the methods with which we can measure the functional residual capacity. Okay guys, we have discussed all the important points which you need to know for your exam, the lung volumes, different lung volumes and different lung capacities. In the next upcoming video, let's discuss about flow volume loops, not the pressure volume loops. Pressure volume loops already we have discussed. Pressure volume loops are nothing but complaint curves, complaints of the lungs. We have already discussed that. In the next upcoming videos, let's discuss about flow volume loops. Hope the video is helpful. Thank you.